In this video, I'm going to talk about what I think is a pair of underrated moves by the Detroit Lions. I'm talking about some level of safeguarding the roster for the 2026 season, specifically re-signing Rock Ya-Sin. I thought he played fantastic when called upon last season, and then bringing in former Chiefs running back Isiah Pacheco. I want to provide some comments here first, and then some film of Rock primarily. I'm not sure that I need necessarily to show film of Pacheco. To be honest with you, I had a Rock Ya-Sin video planned already for some point in the offseason, so it was fired up. It makes it easy to package here, along with the news of the signing. Certainly the Lions have been, I guess what some would say, quiet in free agency compared to other teams. I like what they've done. If I used this analogy in the Cade Mays video from a couple of days ago, check that out at some point if you haven't done so already. Cade Mays, that is, hits a bunch of doubles and doesn't strike out much. A high batting average guy, which is rare these days, right? These moves, Mays, Rock Ya-Sin, Pacheco, I get it that no one probably outside of Detroit fans or media is talking about it. Fine. That doesn't mean they're not smart and intelligent moves, especially in light of the fact that Goff's contract was, reconfigured, freed up $32 million or something like that, maybe 33. I do want to focus specifically on Rock here from a film study standpoint, but talk about Pacheco first. I think Rock deserved more credit and mention for how he played in 2025. Both of these guys, though, tough, physical. One is a little older than the other. I think Rock is 29, Pacheco's 26. Pacheco's super interesting story. Obviously, he invigorated the Chiefs' offense in 22 and 23, his first two seasons. Look, he had, combining those 2 years in Kansas City, over 1,700 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns across his first 2 years. That like hard charging style, really good burst. It always felt like for me watching against the Chiefs, rooting for the Ravens and or the Lions, that you were worried when he got the football or when he was on the field. Not that Kareem Hunt and others didn't have talent. I think Pacheco takes pass pro seriously. From what I recall, he's good at it. And I might be wrong there. I'm willing to, put myself out there that I might be wrong. He lays it out there every snap he's on the field that I've been able to pay attention to it. Of course, I'm not watching Chiefs games unless, the Ravens or Lions are playing them or possibly getting ready to play them soon. I'm not a huge Chiefs fan at all. What I will say is if he can regain any of that form from 2022 and 2023, you have an excellent option behind Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think it was like 1.3 or 1.5 million was the salary number. It was very low. Great work, if you ask me, by Brad Holmes in the front office for a guy who will be motivated, right? He didn't have much impact the last 2 years, or the numbers were decreased as a result of injury in both seasons. I'll get back to my thoughts on Pacheco here in a moment, but what I wanted to do was highlight what I consider is, for lack of a better word, rock solid play by Ya-Sin in 2025 that I think offers a really high floor for the Lions cornerback position in 2026. I'm going to show some film from across 4 different games of Rock Ya-Sin competing against, what I consider to be high-level receivers, guys who've produced in the NFL. This is a 3rd and 11 in the road win against Cincinnati, I believe in week 4 last season, into the second quarter, and it's going to end up being this kind of stacked Twins alignment. It's a 2-on-2 up there. So what I mean, and I'll refer to this a couple of times, is you've got 2 receivers for the Bengals and 2 corners. It's Amik and Rock Ya-Sin for the Lions. So out of this stacked Twins release, Iosivas is going to take an outside release, or an out-breaking route, to the sideline, and then Higgins is going to run the vertical. There's no help here. And I think Rock Ya-Sin all season long has shown that he didn't need safety help to be able to match these vertical routes. Kirby is the middle of the field free safety here, and he's eyeing the tight end set up down into the boundary. I wouldn't say that Rock was ever really necessarily a burner from a speed standpoint, but he's got enough long speed to keep up with these routes when you take into consideration or in combination with the fact that he's very intelligent. Here, we would say he kind of runs the route for him. So what he does is he tries to stay on top of, or obviously in front of Higgins, and not allow Higgins to get into maybe you would say 5th gear. I thought he was Very good in limited reps or certain reps early in the season. Of course, DJ Reed, Terrion Arnold, the predetermined starters for Detroit as they should have been from a salary standpoint and a long-term commitment standpoint. But Rock, early in the year, you had coverage film of him performing well. Notice the differential here that will occur in the way that these two receivers are covered pre-snap. So faced off with Mike Evans a lot. This is Rock here, spot shadowed in yellow, I should say. Ball's on the left hash. So in this case, he's set up to the field. Later on in the year, when Terrion Arnold and or DJ Reed were out, Rock oftentimes was set up into the boundary facing off with the X receiver. So he's set to the field here, and the way that this is going to work post-snap, it's going to work out 3/2. Now, it certainly doesn't look like that now, but we're counting Rock as 1, the nickel, which is Arthur Millette, as 2, and then the safety over the top as 3. The Bucs actually are in a trips set out of empty, so there's 3 receivers here, one of which is a tight end. This guy is not going to be a part of the route combination. The routes are what I have shown here. 2 out-breaking routes. Millette's going to take the inside leverage as the nickel defender. Safety kind of shifts over late. And Rock from outside leverage. I mean, yes, are there other corners who would be, quote, even quicker to this and get to Evans, maybe at the catch point or close to it? Sure, say that if you want to. I mean, but because of the height and the length of Evans, Baker Mayfield is able to throw this ball in an elevated fashion where really only Mike Evans can go get it. Rock, by the way, pushes Evans out of bounds. This is ruled incomplete. I think this is a good example of the versatility that he did play with. He wasn't only playing press man in 2025. You can see that there's definitely some space there between him and the 2 stacked receivers. We would consider it to be off man, but really he's just matching the out-breaking route. If, let's say, Evans ran an underneath route from the point position, and then let's say Egbuka ran something like this, Rock is going to take this route here. He's a very combative, competitive, and smart outside corner who I think also plays intelligently. The good thing is, from a Lions standpoint, they have a ton of draft picks this year. If they don't make any other moves in free agency for outside corners, they can certainly find help and talented guys in this draft at the corner position. They're everywhere. Another one high look this time, as opposed to the previous snap that I showed you. Rock is spot shadowed in yellow. Press man up on Evans. No help whatsoever. Kirby, in this structure, is the deterrent, right? He's the guy who can read the quarterback's eyes and break on the football and really limit the quarterback's options and try to avoid him as much as possible. I was a little surprised as the season went on at Rock's ability in this role. I'm talking about press man, to be able to stay connected to, these deeper routes here, being very combative, with Mike Evans. As Mike Evans turns to look back to the quarterback, Rock's taking the left hand, the inside hand, and jamming him up. Yes, it's past the 5-yard marker, but try guarding a guy who's 6'5" with that leaping ability and that catch radius, I should say, for Mike Evans. Sometimes you have to bend the rules a little bit, and all of these corners, especially to the boundary, are doing stuff like that when they're facing guys like Mike Evans. At this point in the season, you're asking yourself, okay, is this sustainable? Can you continue to get stuff like this out of Rock? We'll give you 1 rep from the Packers game. Over the course of the year, I think one thing that should be mentioned as far as the Lions' offseason work so far in free agency is that Amik Robertson left. He went to the Washington Commanders. I think the contract is 2 years, $16 million with $9 million guaranteed. Compare that to the contract that Rock got. And I think that Brett Holmes and company made the right choice from a financial standpoint or perspective, I should say. And in addition, reflective of the film, basically. And you guys, if you've watched my content enough, you know that I think very highly of Amik Robertson. I root for him. I have rooted for him. But Rock outperformed him, especially in these matchups against X receivers. Now, there is some pressure here on Love. He may not know it as he decides to throw this football way. He's only got 2 routes to look at, right? He's got the tight end being covered by Brian Branch, and then there is Rock in man coverage. I think that's on Dontavion Wicks. Covers this up beautifully. So he ends up matching it underneath and really giving the receiver no space whatsoever, giving the quarterback, no space whatsoever to be able to throw the football. They did actually score, I think, on this possession. I think they scored. This is the possession where they scored on the 4th and 1, where really it should have been 4th and 6 because the referees issued Matt LaFleur the timeout. I think at this point, any balanced or reasonable fan is going to be willing to admit that Rock outperformed his expectations for 2025 in Detroit, and also probably outperformed the salary that he was just awarded. This is going to be 5 plays from his matchup against A.J. Brown. I think it was a virtuoso performance for him personally against, one of the more talented ex-wide receivers in the league. When I say ex-wide receiver, I'm talking about the ball is on the right hash, so the ex-wide receiver is typically going to be set up into the boundary, the short side of the field. Yes, the hashes in the NFL are super tight, probably too tight and close together. But the reason why I wanted to highlight this one, again, because I did a video that ensuing week, is because there's no help. Generally, no help at all. This is at the core of the Lions' defense in recent years, which is that you're playing man from a single high or one high safety structure, and you as an outside corner are not going to have any help at all. The receiver, in some ways, has what we would consider to be a two-way go, and you've got to be able to defend him in both directions. On these outside breaking routes, on this night at least, Rock did a great job of shutting down A.J. Brown. He got beat on a couple of shake slants to the inside. I'll actually show you 2 of them in the rest of this video. Now, maybe retaining Rock is a signal from the Lions front office and from Dan Campbell that they're going to continue to major in single high man structure. That's possible. I thought that that Rock over the course of the year showed a little bit more versatility than just press man, although that's certainly what we're going to see in the remaining 4 plays here. Brown and Hurts tried this route multiple times. So like a shake slant release. Again, it's man. So it's an inside breaking route, but it's after he steps to the outside. It's a smart move here by Rock, I think, protecting the release. And I'm talking about the inside hand, the left hand, as he kind of gets crossed over, or as A.J. Brown tries to cross him over, the left hand on the hip, kind of impeding him for a moment, and then turning that into the right hand being on the hip right now. We're talking about that right there, allowing Rock to stay as connected as possible to A.J. Brown. Ends up being incomplete. Detroit played a really good brand of football that night. Defensively, I'm talking about, obviously. The offense, got next to nothing done at all. They were, totally overpowered. Rock was a big part of this game plan. It didn't shut down A.J. Brown, but limited him and made him and Jalen Hurts inefficient in their targets together. Basically, I think that Brad Holmes and the Lions kept the right guy they kept the right guy if they're going to continue to play and rely on man structure often or all the time in an overwhelming fashion. Here is another third down. It's 3rd and 15. They actually kind of play a little bit of a combo coverage here somewhat. It looks like man on the outside receivers and then a 2 high safety structure for Detroit on 3rd and 15. Like I said, Anzalone actually kind of zones this off. You do get a really nice rep at the bottom of the screen from Amik Robertson as well. I think he's just being really physical, even though it's 3rd and 15. So you have yards that you could forfeit or give up. And that's kind of what happens to Rock up here. You can see that A.J. Brown threatens like he's going to release vertically. And so Rock has taken a man turn up to the top. A man turn means his back is turned to the quarterback with his face mask and his chest pointed towards the sideline. And then he baseball turns back to it, because he recognizes A.J. Brown going underneath. Like I said, it's a 3rd and 15, which you would consider, an innocuous catch. It's a 3-man rush by Detroit. Philly takes a 6-0 lead. Completed pass on a shake slant here. Again, Rock is spot shadow down here at the bottom in yellow against A.J. Brown into the boundary. It's a fake toss slant. So Saquon Barkley is going to fake the toss to the side, and Jalen Hurts reverse pivots out of there to fake the toss, and it opens a window on the backside slant. Barnes also kind of drops a little bit flat for me. I'm talking about Barnes' drop. When you've got, play action away from you, there's not going to be like an out route over here, right, with play action up to that side. It's generally going to flow to the same side as the play action or where the running back threatened to get the football. But in any case, there's also a quick pressure by Aleem McNeil. I think it's against the center for a quarterback hit. A.J. Brown got loose on this route twice during the game. This one gives him a 1st down. And I think they end up breaking the 6-6 tie here. Two more plays here for good measure from Rock against A.J. Brown. I think he's deserving of that type of attention. He was after that game. Of course, I know most people weren't in the mood to watch film study videos because of the loss. It's another 3rd and 6, and a consistent theme among the film here, whether it was Higgins, the first play I showed you, Mike Evans, a couple of snaps, or here, A.J. Brown. It's another 3rd down. You do get a 2-high safety structure. We're talking about Branch and the other safety up to the top of the field. And it's a vertical route by A.J. Brown. Rock has the ability to stay calm and stay in phase. You can see that Branch is not in any type of help relationship for Rock at all. This is solo man. You're all by yourself. And he's able to stay in phase, compete for pretty much every blade of grass, or I should say make the receiver compete for every blade of grass. This really fit with Kelvin Shepard's defensive structure in 2025. While I do hope that they would be a little bit more multiple in 2026, Rock, I think, gives Shepard, Dan Campbell, and the whole defensive staff, the versatility to be able to play any coverage they want. But I have to show this one, even though it's not a positive outcome for the Lions, because I still want to complain about it, because I think it was a really horrible call. The style here was right for Rock in this matchup against A.J. Brown, being fast enough to run with him vertically and strong enough and combative by nature, by default, I should say, to compete for every blade of grass. This is the 3rd and 8 inside of 2 minutes. The Eagles are trying to get the first down, and it's a crazy play, right? How does it happen? Well, I think that the Lions, are in a 1-high straight safety structure, obviously, and they're looking for QB draw, probably, is my guess. They had seen it once earlier in the game. It's an interesting blocking scheme that the Eagles used that now is kind of spread across the rest of the NFL for various teams that have athletic quarterbacks. In any case, they're going to call the DPI here on Rock, and the best take that I saw on this was, this is obviously, it was on Twitter, I can't remember who it was. This is obviously a pass interference. The receiver doesn't give the DB an opportunity to catch the football because he pushes off. So I no way, shape, or form do I actually think that this should be called. I'm showing this for a lot of reasons, because I think it was a poor job by the referees of recognizing what actually happened on the play, but also the competitive spirit that you got from Rock Ya-Sin in 2025, which is really, it's the reason I'm doing the video, because I'm glad that they re-signed him on a 1-year structure, obviously, but also I think he deserved to be brought back, in my opinion, with this team. Terrion Arnold and DJ Reed are obviously in front of him on the depth chart, and this Rakestraw could possibly even be as well. I think that even last year for Rock Ya-Sin, he was practicing as like a safety or nickel type player in the preseason. I could be wrong. That all ended up changing, right, when the injuries mounted to the secondary again. His snap count in the first 4 weeks, when everyone was healthy, his being Rock, 18 plays on the field through 4 weeks. And then that, of course, ballooned right after the injuries to Reed and Arnold. He ended up playing 85% of the snaps in 7 of the last 12 games, he being Rock Ya-Sin. And in 5 of those games, he played 96% of the snaps or more. Finished with a career-high 9 passes defensed. I think the statement game for him was obviously the one against the Eagles that was ruined by that terrible call that I just showed you, right? Gave A.J. Brown hell throughout the course of that matchup over the course of, I think, 71 snaps. It ends up being a 16-9 loss. That BS penalty at the end, maybe it ruins it and probably would give some people ammunition to say, why would you talk about a guy who got a DPI on the final play of the game? Well, I don't think it should have been called, first of all. Second of all, I think that Rock being by design in 2025, being the 4th outside corner, and maybe in some ways you could even say 5th, because Meek had that versatility to play outside corner and slot DB. I think they kept the right guy for 2026. He's not going to be slated as a starter at all. DJ Reed and Terrion Arnold have commitments, long-term and short-term. I do expect the Lions to take a corner in the draft. I think there is depth here in this draft that extends to round 3 and maybe even round 4. And when I say depth, I mean quality football players that have some known strengths and possibly obvious weaknesses as well. Rakestraw is the guy I think that the competition will be brought in for. As far as 2026, let me reframe that. I would say that based on performance, for me, Rakestraw is firmly behind Rock in the pecking order. What's on the roster right now? Arnold, Reed, Rock, and then Rakestraw would be my order. I understand that Rakestraw is young and has 2 more years on his rookie deal, and so you may have a difference of opinion. That's fine. I just think the film from last year shows it, and I wanted to bring you a little bit of that information as well as the film now to highlight his performance. There's certainly other things going on with the Lions to talk about, right? The Goff contract opened up some freedom for Brad Holmes, just like Lamar's restructure or reconfiguring did so in Baltimore. Patrick Mahomes with the Chiefs. I like the Mays signing a lot. I did a video. I'll link that up in the description. What I wanted to do here was get some film of Rock in coverage, mostly man, like I said. The Anzalone leaving situation, I don't think is going to be as big of a loss whatsoever in 2026 as others may. First of all, Derek Barnes is signed for, I think, 2 more years, number one. Number two, Anzalone's presence allowed them to play so much more man because of his ability to match up with tight ends. And I do speculate that you might be moving away from that reliance or perhaps over-reliance, especially if Kirby Joseph isn't available. Kirby Joseph or Brian Branch, are not available for large stretches of time, at least at the beginning of 2026. Overall, these depth moves with Rock, Pacheco, and then Cade Mays, who certainly will be a starter, I think to me it signals that Brad Holmes and the Lions, they want to maintain some level of freedom with picks 17 and 50. Or at least this protects that ability to choose, meaning you don't have to pick a left tackle at 17. Now, having said that, the left tackle depth, the quality, does not extend anywhere near as deep as some of the other positions in this draft. The edge defender spot, safety in particular, where I think the Lions will go at some point, as well as outside corner. I think we all knew that the Goff contract was going to be converted or reconfigured, however you want to refer to it. I don't care. That had to happen in Detroit. It had to happen in Baltimore, and it already occurred in Kansas City, and I think actually Buffalo as well. Losing Anzalone, impactful. Releasing Decker creates, a large hole out there at left tackle, obviously. As far as Pacheco goes, I do think this was a pivot from Brad Holmes in the front office, meaning that they intended for David Montgomery to still be here and to find usage for him. Part of me would like to say hopefully in line with 2024, right? He scored 12 touchdowns that season. But look, his total yards last year only fell from 775 to 717. So the carries were down. I think the carries went from 185 in Ben Johnson's last year as offensive coordinator to 158 in 2025. By comparison, go check out Pacheco's stats. Far less rushing attempts each of the last 2 years. Of course, that was related to injury. I think this safeguards the position for Detroit, the running back spot, I should say. If they wanted to continue this flavor or continue this line of thinking with speed, home run hitter type backs, Nick Singleton from Penn State, right? Either of those 5th-round picks, if he's still there. Super talented guy. Some people would say maybe didn't live up to his talent level coming into college as a 5-star recruit. But he did score, I think, 12 touchdowns each of the last 2 seasons, or maybe it was 13 or 14. Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M, another great option, like a 4.42, 4.4 guy. Later, rather than earlier, would be where Detroit goes to running back, but they've got a lot of picks stacked up. I know Brad Holmes likes to move around the board a lot. I will tell you that my opinion, straight up, is drastically different from so many others about this draft. I don't think this is a weak draft at all. I think that certain position groups, tight end is another one, the talent level extends far longer or further into the draft than it does in a typical season. Pacheco's only 26. I like his style. Runs very hard, obviously. I don't think that he's the same threat on duo as a David Montgomery, who was incredibly patient and had great agility. Pacheco, a little bit more linear, downhill, if you will. I would expect them to draft a running back in the draft. Just not sure whether they're going to go with a speed back or someone that fits the Montgomery style. In any case, if you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number one. Number two, if you think other Lions fans would enjoy some film study of Rock Ya-Sin extended look, to be honest, I think I showed 10 plays, as well as commentary on Isiah Pacheco, Cade Mays, and others, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.